Okay, so I am just going to briefly describe some of the tools that you can use if you are interested in doing some malware analysis or digital forensics. I have VMware set up and I've got two virtual machines in there that I'm going to use and describe very briefly. The first one, it's an Ubuntu setup and it's actually a build called Remnux. And what Remnux is it is a digital forensics and malware analysis. It's got a ton of tools that are pre-built into it that you can use. Similar to like a Kali Linux that has all the tools built in for hacking, this has tools built in for digital forensics type stuff. You can see here on the main page that it's got all the different little cheat sheets for the different services that it offers, the smartphone forensics, network forensics, Windows to Unix cheats. So for the little cheat sheet tools of malware analysis here, you can see it's got all these different little sweet functions in here. There's the category, tells you what it does, the tool name, and of course the command and how to invoke it. So two of the ones we're going to look at real quick. One is called Thug, and what Thug does is it analyzes malware websites, and so what we're going to do is I'm going to just type in a code, and we're going to just take a look at some of the back-end code that you would see on the Buffalo Sabres website, and then or any site. If you were to come across a website that you suspected had malware on it, you could certainly type it in here, and of course it would bring up all the code. You can inspect it. So we're going to just take a look at that real quick, and you can see what it looks like. Of course, if you wanted to actually, like I said, if you wanted to inspect it, you could see here's like the header, the footer, terms and conditions, all the different little, of course, now here's the actual code, here's the thing that you want to look at. So if you wanted to inspect it for whatever reason, if there was something suspicious that you wanted to check out, you could go in here, you can look at it, you can try to find it. Of course, if you wanted to, you could copy and paste and put stuff into the code if you wanted to. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but that's certainly an option. There's a ton of code here, so it was continuing to run even as I scrolled up, so you got to scroll all the way down to the bottom here. So this is just an example of just one of the tools that you can use to, and this is just one function of one tool that you can use to analyze the code and check it for any kind of malware, anything that's unusual in there. And so what we're going to take a look at now is one that doesn't require command line. It's a graphical user interface, Wireshark. Most people are very familiar with that. You can see it's a packet sniffing tool. You see right here the network sniffing, Wireshark is right here. And so, of course, if there was anything you wanted to analyze, you could start this, and you can capture the network traffic, and then you can take a look at it. And here we are, it's already capturing packets. And you can see where it's coming from, where it's going to. You can see the protocol that it's associated with. So far nothing really that good, but if you wanted to take a look at it, and of course this looks like gibberish, and usually any of the code that comes through over like HTTPS is going to be encrypted, but not all of this is. You can see this is coming from a SANS SIFT workstation, so this is actually picking up traffic that was coming over this machine here. This is the SIFT workstation. You can see here that it's actually picking it up as it's running over there. So I'm able to, of course I already know that because you can see that, but otherwise you see the net BIOS. This is a UDP protocol, so it's a connectionless protocol that's associated with the TCP/IP protocol suite here, and it'll give you like all the different information that you need to know about it, what port it comes from, what port it goes to. You can see destination. Here's the destination MAC address. It's an IPv4. So you can use this if you wanted to analyze the network traffic. So if you were trying to analyze something, if somebody was trying to hack a site, or they were trying to do something kind of nasty on a network that you're monitoring, you can track it. You'd be able to see any of the code, the malware, anything as it comes over the traffic there. So now the other one we're going to look at briefly is, now this is my Windows 8.1, and this has a couple of different programs on there. The first one here, this is the Process Hacker, and this is just kind of a monitoring tool. It's not anything that you actually are going to do anything with, other than just kind of look. You can see that it's looking at all the .exe processes, the executables that are running, and of course, you know, if you wanted, you can debug. You can not debug it, but you can see all the different things that you can do for it. If you saw a process on here that looked suspicious, if you went onto a site that you suspected had malware, or someone was trying to put spyware or something on there, you'd be able to see it in here. Something that looked kind of unfamiliar to you, you can certainly terminate it. You can debug it. You can look at it. I don't have it set up to debug, but of course, this is my not a debugger, but this is my disassembler. What it's going to do is it takes code and it's going to disassemble it right down to the assembly language. So if you're not familiar with assembly language, then this is just going to look like a bunch of craziness to you, which it pretty much is. It's something that you really have to know what you're looking at in order to make sense of it. But we're going to just take a look at it so you can see what the code looks like in its hexadecimal format. So this is a file that I downloaded from the Zoo website, and the Zoo website has all it's a repository of all the active known malwares, viruses, trojans, anything that you can think of. It's in there. This is just one file, and you can see it contains a lot of nasty stuff. This is all totally live. You have to be real careful when you're using this. I've already infected my computer multiple times using this stuff. So before I do anything, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to actually right click on that and disconnect from the network. So at least this way I reduce the chances of any of the malware actually getting off of the VM and onto the network. But you can see some of the different programs that are located in here, some like really nasty things. There's keyloggers, you see Linux specific malware, a whole bunch of ransomware, which I'm not going to go anywhere near because that's nasty. So we'll just take a look at this one, and open up this, and you'll be able to see what it looks like. What it looks like in its assembly language form. And you can see here that it's this binary file here that is just a bunch of craziness. And of course, if you know how to read it, this makes a lot more sense to you. You can see some of these first numbers usually indicate where it is on the hard drive. And so, like I said, if you know how to actually interpret this, then it makes a lot more sense. You can typically break it down into code, so you can actually get a better idea of what it's actually doing here. It's returning this and whatever this is, whatever code that it's embedding on whatever part of the hard drive that it's writing itself to. Here you can see the different string segments here. You can see that this is 763 lines of code. So this is a pretty big file, and it would take a while to actually go through this. Now, this is just a disassembler. Now typically you would pair this with a debugger, and because this is the free version, there are a lot of functions that aren't available. But what you could do, and of course, so you can convert it to data. You can it'll break down the different segments. It'll actually, so you can see, it'll color code the different segments. You can see it'll put it all together here. And of course, you can create the functions and actually play around with it. And if you knew how to actually work with a disassembly language, then you would know exactly what you were looking at here. But what you could do, and because I have the free version, I can't do it, but what you can do is copy and paste some of this and actually put it into a text editor and actually convert it to something that's more readable. So if you wanted to play around with this a little bit more, of course, this is not something that someone who's brand new to this is going to be able to figure out. Like I said, you're going to have to know how to actually deal with the hex format. You're going to have to know how to deal with machine language, which is something that's typically not really taught that much. That's kind of like a specialty of programming. You have to really know what you're doing in order to actually be able to figure this out. But so this is just the Windows version, and so between this and of course the Remnux, if you're familiar with Linux and you're familiar with how to work in a command line environment, you could actually go through and play with a lot of these tools, and you can actually insert whatever files. If you had a file, if I wanted to, I could take some of these like a file and actually open up one of these and then write the file into here and actually play around with it. It's a little bit beyond my scope of what I'm capable of doing at the moment, so I'm not gonna try it. But so these are just some of the tools that are available to anyone who is interested in doing their own malware analysis. And not to do a product plug, but Malwarebytes is the program that actually saved me, because playing around with this, my computer became infected and every file on my computer became corrupted and unusable. And when I downloaded this and did a system scan and quarantined the almost 150 files that it found, everything came back and worked again, fortunately. So if you're going to do this, be very careful, because there's a good chance that you will probably infect your computer. Do it on a computer that you don't use for anything else other than just this. And if you do, remember to come up here and disconnect from the network, so that it kind of keeps it contained to the virtual machine, and you reduce the chance of it actually going out and infecting the network and the other computers that are connected to your network.